I call upon Professor Robin Williams, Director of the Institute for the Study of Science, Technology and Innovation Studies, to present a candidate for an honorary degree.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, in the name and by authority of the Senatus Academicus, I have the honour to present for the degree of Doctor of Science in Social Science, Professor Bruno Latour. This award seems particularly appropriate today in the year of the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the Science Studies Unit at the University of Edinburgh. This was one of the founding centres for the young field that has today extended from science studies to include technology and innovation studies. I came to Edinburgh to develop the second strand of that work a mere 30 years ago. I was excited in my first week to be invited to chair a session with Professor Latour. I was also rather nervous, as with my late colleague Stuart Russell, I just finished writing a polemic against the turn to microsociology proposed by Latour and others. A few years later, our esteemed Science Studies Unit colleague David Bloor even published a paper with the title Anti-Latour. We were taken aback by Latour's breathtaking challenge to boundaries then widely taken for granted across many areas of social science. For example, customary distinctions then prevalent between micro, meso, and macro levels of analysis. The actor network theory that Bruno developed with Michel Calonne and other colleagues at Centre de Sociologie de l'Innovation of the École Nationale Supérieure des Mines de Paris challenged the distinction between action and context, and even the distinction between human and non-human actors. Now, 30 years later, I must concede that this contribution has radically transformed the intellectual environment in which we work. Bruno's foundational contributions began with his first book, Laboratory Life, written with Steve Woolgar. This became an exemplar of how ethnographic inquiry could allow us to understand science and the work of scientists. His second book, The Pasteurization of France, laid out his actor network theory and demonstrated its utility in understanding Louis Pasteur's achievements in creating the institutions of microbiology and transforming social and technical life. This was followed by a further 9 books. Each one represents a major contribution to social science. Together they constitute a remarkable body of work which has transformed scholarly understanding of science, society, and modernity. Edinburgh scholars have benefited enormously from the sustained interaction and creative tension with the Latourian school. An honorary degree of the University of Edinburgh is fitting recognition of the close collegial relationship and the benefit we have received from his stimulus. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I invite you to confer the degree of Doctor of Science in Social Science to Professor Latour in recognition of his contribution to sociology, anthropology, and philosophy, particularly in relation to the study of science and technology.
By the authority vested in me, I admit you to the degree. Hearty congratulations. Great pleasure to you.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, dear students, dear colleagues, it's a great honor, of course. I was reminded by Professor Williams that I had some dispute with some of the people here in the Science Studies unit. And just like Helga Novelty said before, I could not pronounce Buchler's place either. Nor actually could I understand a word of what David Edge, the founder of the Science Studies unit, was saying because of his ways of articulating a foreign language to me, that is English. I have three reasons. Of course, the first one is that it's great to be here for the 50th anniversary of his Science Studies unit, which for me was a very important place because I had all of his friends and I could dispute. I was mostly right, if I understood, but it took a long time, let's say. The second reason is that I was very fortunate in being asked to give a Gifford lectures here 3 years ago. And it was for me a very important moment when I was forced to link the study of science with the ecological mutation. And this is what I've been doing ever since. So the Gifford lectures had a very important influence on the topic of my study. And that's the third reason why I'm very moved to be here, is because we are with our friend, the geologist. And I think it's a great sign of the time, if you want, that geologists and science studies and social studies and international relations are all together, because that's the situation where we are. I gave a lecture recently in Cornell, which I'm sure will be nice for the people in geology, saying geology should be the umbrella for all parts of the universities, because that's where we are now. International relation is part of geology, philosophy is part of geology. If you don't like the word geology, use Gaia-logy, which is a very good term as well. We are all Gaia-logists and Gaia-graphers and Gaia-philosophers of some sort. I have a fourth reason, of course, maybe I should not mention it, is that it's the first ceremony I'm part of after the Brexit. I know I don't want to get into politics. I know that it might be impossible to be again a Frenchman coming to an Edinburgh University in a few years back, but I hope even in France and Europe and Britain and Scotland have different trajectory in their national destiny. The universities of France and the universities of Scotland will maintain this old alliance I was a part of your history and our history. For all this reason, I'm very pleased to be honored and I'm very honored and pleased to receive this degree. Thank you very much.